Hello, thank you for joining us on the news on NT International, reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Ruth Aguele. Let's take the headlines. Victory for President Buhari as Presidential Election Petition Court dismisses petition challenging his election. Ahmadu Bello University Zaria gets new Center of Excellence. Nigeria on verge to eradicating polio virus, records no incidents in 3 years. Plus, U.S. consulate partners Nigeria creative industry on documentary film festival. We'll begin with the judiciary. The Presidential Election Petition Court has dismissed the petition filed by the Hope Democratic Party and its candidate, Ambrose Owuru. In a unanimous decision by the five-man Presidential Election Petition Court, led by Justice Mohammed Garba, gave the verdict. Dele Atumbi reports.
The Hope Democratic Party and its candidate Ambrose Owuru in its petition claimed that in a referendum election conducted on February 16, 2019, the candidate of the party polled 50 million votes. It is on this premise that the petitioners approached the Presidential Election Petition Court asking it to declare the candidate of the party, Ambrose Owuru, as president. In proving their case, the petitioners called one witness who admitted that he voted in the February 23 presidential election where INEC declared and retained President Muhammadu Buhari as president for second term. The Presidential Election Petition Court pointed out that sections 131, 132 and 133 of the 1999 Constitution provide for the guidelines for the election of the president and vice president of the country. On the issue of alleged referendum conducted on February 16, 2019, the court also cited the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended to further buttress its position that the conduct of referendum to determine the occupants of the office of the president and the vice president is unknown to the Constitution of Nigeria. The court is of the view that the Independent National Electoral Commission is the only body constitutionally empowered to conduct election to the office of the president and that of the vice president. The court also submitted that INEC has the power to fix the date for an election and postpone same in line with Section 26 of the Electoral Act. The claimed referendum, the court maintained, was subversive to the electoral process. In dismissing the petition, the court heard, in addition, that the petition was a pre-election matter of which it has no jurisdiction to entertain. The Presidential Election Petition Court also ruled that the petition was an abuse of court process as same application is pending before the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja.
Referendum for election into the office of president or governor in this country at all.
However, the Presidential Election Petition Court has another petition before it filed by the PDP. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari this Thursday inaugurated a newly completed postgraduate Center of Excellence at the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. The center was constructed and donated to the school by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Before unveiling the commemorative plaque to formally inaugurate the edifice, President Buhari said the construction of the project was a testimony to his administration's efforts at supporting qualitative learning from the primary to the tertiary level.
Even in the face of limited financial resources. In line with this renewed commitment, during the past 4 years, we have invested close to 1.3 trillion naira towards the development of our educational sector. This amount does not include funds spent on overheads and personal costs. This event is part of our efforts towards providing a conducive learning environment for Nigerians in the academia. Let me reiterate here that this administration places much premium on education at all levels, as it is the bedrock of society's progress and the way to overcome poverty.
The president said his administration in its second term will continue to accord education priority by ensuring adequate funding for the sector to make it affordable, qualitative and competitive with what is obtainable in more developed countries. And now on health, Nigeria is making significant progress towards eradication of polio in the country. And August 21 makes it exactly 3 years that the country has not recorded any incidents of wild polio virus. This is the feeler coming from the 96th meeting of the National Economic Council this Thursday in Abuja. However, there are indications that the nation may be certified polio-free by the World Health Organization. The other good news is that the country's GDP continues on upward movement. State House correspondent Jide Onifade gives us details of this and all the deliberations at the council's meeting. And now to agriculture. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture has demonstrated and trained farmers in Benue State on how to establish and manage various high-yielding cassava varieties to boost cassava production, enhance their income-generating capacity, in addition to raising the nation's gross domestic product. Charles Abba reports that the program is in conjunction with the Benue State Agricultural Research and Development Authority.
With the identification of agriculture by the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari as the main sector that can produce quick results for the diversification of the economy, the federal government has continued to devise ways of achieving the objective. This informed the training of farmers on production of improved varieties of cassava in Benue State, which is adjudged by experts to have comparative advantage over other states.
We want Benue people to start farming as a business, no longer just farming for subsistence level.
Program Manager, Benue State Agricultural Research and Development Authority, Celestine Pine, explained that cassava has the potential to be converted into 50 value addition, capable of generating huge revenue for farmers and the nation. Mr. Pine, who further demonstrated the technical processes of planting cassava to the trainees, said, the perennial crop comes in improved varieties coded IBA 011368, 30572, NK 3080, and the recent TME 419, which is disease resistant, yields higher, and has shorter time of harvest.
It's cassava that grows everywhere. And secondly, because of the diverse nature of its processing and this ability to hold the food of the people and control hunger, because yam is costly, rice is expensive, but cassava, gari, akpu and everything. So the federal government saw that let us go into what is actually going to benefit everybody.
Agesho and Mercy Amom were among the farmers who described the training as innovative.
Even the resource officers have delivered the lecture very well, and the message is well taken. So it will help us even when we go back on the field.
The cassava stems in planting, I didn't know initially that the 5 eyes has to go inside. It was a new thing to me, and I feel good.
Right there are farmers that are gathered undergoing the practical aspect of the planting of cassava stems. And right here is the variety, or rather species, that is known as 419. From the demonstration farm, Charles Abba, NTA News.
And from Agric, we move to ICT. The Federal Ministry of Science and Technology is working with stakeholders to address ethical issues in the application of science and technology in the country. Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Bitrus Nabusu, said this at the opening of a 2-day stakeholders meeting for the harmonization of National Bioethics Committee framework and policy documents. Justin Bem Onye reports that the meeting, which has been held at the instance of the National Biotechnology Development Agency, UNESCO, is meant to address ethical issues emerging from advances in sciences and technology.
With the rapidly changing environment, coupled with the advancement of technology and scientific innovations, experts are of the view that man's activities must take into cognizance the application of these new technologies of great potential. This is to ensure that they are safe and environmentally friendly and socially sustainable. And this is where the intervention of bioethics in the society, scientific innovations and societal concerns becomes imperative. the need to reflect on the moral dimension and advances in science and technology has in many areas of the world led to the establishment of various forms of bioethics committees. As a first step towards establishing Nigeria's Bioethics Committee, the country is currently harmonizing its National Bioethics Committee framework and the policy.
Climate change, societal unrest, respect to persons, humanities, life sciences, information and communication, migration, to mention a few, are all factors that affect human life, which are more and more being considered as integral part of bioethics.
The National Bioethics Committee is neither a committee to compete with the already established National Health Research Ethics Committee, nor is it a committee to take over functions of existing ethics committees. The National Bioethics Committee will attend to all issues we think are a challenge to life, dignity, and freedom of persons as it affects us as a nation, and also provide advice on how best to tackle these issues.
The committee, when formed, will act as an advisory body to the President and policymakers. And this is the basic essence for the establishment of the National Bioethics Committee. In Abuja, Justin Bemu, NTA News.
The federal government has flagged off the voluntary repatriation of more than 60,000 Nigerian refugees in Cameroon, with the airlift of the first batch of 135 who were indigents of Adamawa State back to Yola, the state capital. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, supervised the repatriation of the first batch at the Marwa Salak International Airport in the far north region of Cameroon in her first official assignment as minister. She said the federal government has concluded arrangements to resettle the refugees to their communities and restore their livelihoods within the shortest possible time. The minister said repatriation would be a continuous exercise for all Nigerian refugees who voluntarily wish to return to their communities in the northeast. Mitari Ikman reports that the first batch comprises 25 families and are currently being profiled for resettlement to their respective communities. You're watching the news on NTA International. We go on a short break. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
Hear the call of change. Stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. Go to so let the change begin from within. Look at you, Ogerola. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Thank you for staying with us. Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission are creating new alliances to build inroads into the country for those of them desirous of tracing their roots back home and acquiring property for themselves and their families. To this effect, the Commission is in talks with the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria for a seamless process of owning property in the country through mortgage financing. Onainge Fineface reports.
Housing for the Nigerian Diaspora Commission is the second most challenging concern of Nigerians living abroad, but desirous of owning their homes in the country or acquiring same for members of their families. Crucial concerns for the Commission include how to get houses for Nigerians in the diaspora without third party and how to do so using the mortgage system Nigerians abroad are familiar with. The interface between the Commission and the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is to work out modalities for a diaspora housing policy to cater for the housing needs of Nigerians in the diaspora.
We want to work with the Mortgage Bank to work on some facilities that can be created for Nigerians in the diaspora. They have the money. They want to buy houses. They want to send money. Okay, the $200 you're sending to your mother can be put into a mortgage system, and then after 20 years, you've built a home for them.
The Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria says it is working on diaspora mortgage projects in line with its mandate to reduce housing deficits in the country through affordable mortgages, construction financing, among other packages.
We recognize the critical work your organization has been mandated to do, to undertake on behalf of the good citizens of the country. And we have no doubt you can make a resounding success on this task. The diaspora mortgage you talked about is a special window developed for Nigerians living abroad to facilitate access to finance for housing, for residential housing development at home.
This is one of several plans of the Nigeria in the Diaspora Commission to attract foreign direct investments to contribute to the growth of the nation's economy by Nigerians living abroad. In Abuja, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
A multi-billion naira regional water supply expansion project has been inaugurated in Zaria towards addressing the perennial water shortage in the Asian city and its environs. President Muhammadu Buhari, who performed the ceremony, urged the beneficiaries to jealously guard the facility and pay their bills promptly to ensure that the project is maintained. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports that the president also visited the Emir of Zazzau, where he restated his commitment to a greater Nigeria.
Conceived to solve the acute water supply problem in Zaria and environs, which persisted for over 2 decades, the regional water supply expansion project was jointly funded by the federal and Kaduna state governments, Islamic as well as African development banks. It consists the construction of multi-purpose Galma Dam, treatment plan, transmission and service reservoirs, rehabilitation and extension of distribution network, as well as network extension to other local government areas.
The federal government funding of the construction of the multi-purpose 186.1 million cubic meters Galma Dam as a contribution to this project underlines our firm resolve to continue to put in place policies and execute projects that will change the narratives for Nigerians. This is why, in spite of lean resources, we committed the sum of 11.8 billion naira towards this dam and so to its completion.
President Muhammadu Buhari commended the Kaduna state government for demonstrating appreciable commitment to the development of the state by committing about 25 billion naira towards ensuring the completion of the project, which was in a state of limbo for years. He also appreciated the multilateral partners for their significant contributions to the life-changing project.
We are hopeful that this partnership will continue as we seek to reach out to other communities, cities and states in Nigeria to provide water facilities and other essential services. Water infrastructure investments such as this one will serve for decades, but only if they are well managed and well maintained.
We are providing meters, and there is also a framework for social metering. For those that are too poor to afford water, there is a subsidy system so that the poorest people will still have access to clean water. This is consistent with the manifesto of the APC and what you've always preached to us, to ensure that in everything we do, social justice must take precedence over everything else.
President Buhari had earlier paid homage on the Emir of Zazzau, Alhaji Shehu Idris, at his palace. Emir Shehu Idris was full of gratitude to the Nigerian leader for what he called his ceaseless efforts in handling security matters and other national issues with all seriousness. He is particularly happy with the ongoing work on the dualization of Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, Kano road.
I implore you, Your Excellency, to continue with your good work in tackling the problem of poverty, fight against persistent armed banditry, kidnappings, cattle rustling, and other unbecoming social vices facing this country.
When our Father, His Highness, said, the people of Zaria love and support you, it is a fact, and it is shown in the results of the last election.
President Muhammadu Buhari said he cannot thank the people of Kaduna State and Zaria in particular enough for their trust and confidence in his leadership, which he said will never be in vain.
Kaduna and Kano are the only two states I give two substantive positions in my council. So I have thrown it back at you that I have appreciated your votes and I have paid you back by giving you environment and finance.
The visit to Zaria City was the first by President Muhammadu Buhari since coming to power. Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And now for business news, let's join Musa Baba Aliyu for details.
Nigeria is set to key into the global smoked fish business valued at over $20 billion. To this end, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations donated fish drying kits to the federal government of Nigeria. The equipment is to support fish farmers produce high-quality smoked fish that will meet the international standard.
That it is environmentally friendly, it is climate smart, and it is health conscious. So it addresses all the issues that we are trying to deal with.
The Nigeria Debt Management Office has issued a 59.53 billion naira bond for the period of 3 years. The total subscriptions received from the competitive and non-competitive bids amounted to 139.58 billion naira. And the Nigeria Stock Exchange is collaborating with development partners to promote the development of derivatives in the country. The NSE believes that the introduction of the derivatives will deepen the market and enhance liquidity. It will also help mitigate price, duration, and other financial risks that may arise from sophisticated financial transactional activities.
And from business, we go to foreign with Obiageli Ugoke.
Hello and thanks for joining us. Sudan has appointed a new prime minister as the country embarks on a 3-year transition to civilian rule. Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok says achieving peace and solving the economic crisis are top on his priority. His appointment comes as Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah Abdurrahman was sworn in as leader of the new Sovereign Council. The new government will run the country until election is conducted. Mr. Hamdok was sworn in as transitional prime minister on arrival from Ethiopia, where he worked as a respected senior economist for the UN since 2011 before stepping down last year. And at least 5 European Union countries, Spain, France, Germany, Luxembourg, and Portugal, have offered to take some of the migrants who disembarked on the Italian island of Lampedusa late on Tuesday after being stranded for weeks at the sea. About 100 migrants who were on board the charity ship Open Arms were allowed to disembark after a prosecutor ordered the evacuation of the vessel. In U.S., migrant families who cross southern border of the U.S. illegally could be detained indefinitely under a new regulation announced by the Trump administration. It replaces an agreement that set a limit on how long the government could hold migrant children in custody. The move announced by Acting Homeland Security Secretary Calvin McAlena is due to come into effect in 60 days. And that's the package. I'm Obiageli Ugoke. Many thanks for your time.
And on to sports, Chinazum Wosu wins Nigeria's first gold medal at the ongoing 2019 African Games in Morocco. Kenne Ima Abodike gives us details.